Today's campaign launch took place at Edinburgh's Craigmount High, where STV News heard from two pupils.
I think it was really good how it's bringing awareness to how normalised hate online has been when it shouldn't be normalised at all.
Do you think this will make a difference?
I think it will make a difference. I mean, social media, like online, it has such a massive impact on us.
If people do view it, and if they take the time to watch it, I think that could really, change them and make them think, oh yeah, this is a good point.
We reflected on the relationship between young people and social media with a lecturer and expert on the subject, Dr. Petya Eckler, and student Anna McFadgen. Petya, how important is it that we have campaigns like this?
I think it's tremendously important just to highlight to young people the serious consequences of such inflammatory content and of sharing it online. And just to work to de-escalate situations like this, both in offline environments, but also in the online environments where they can spread even further.
Yeah.
So absolutely, yes.
I mean, Anna, this campaign is trying to stop the sharing of violent content online. Is this something you saw, you witnessed this all as you were growing up?
Yeah, definitely. When I was in school, a lot of videos would be sent about, and it became kind of normalised, and people would become desensitised to this kind of content. And it was difficult for schools to police and try and avoid happening, and school teachers would try their best, but once it's out there, it's difficult to stop the spread of it, as we're so familiar with the social media.
Yeah, and did it almost encourage violent incidents?
I think it normalised a lot of the behaviour, and it would almost seem like people were making light of situations. It wouldn't be seen as serious in the same way.
I mean, talking about social media in general, are there more pluses or minuses to young people using social media, Petya?
I think I like to say that it very much depends on how you use it. If social media is used in a way that is constructive and supportive and inspires young people to learn things, to learn new things, for its educational functions, or to connect with others that they cannot see necessarily in offline life, if it's a way to connect with family or friends around the world, or even to make new acquaintances of people you wouldn't know necessarily, it's a great thing. To learn a new skill, to connect, to be inspired, to change your behavior towards something better, then it's great. But there's obviously ways in which social media has been used by young people just for negative purposes and with negative consequences. So it's really a mixed bag, and it really, I think, comes down to the individual, to the young person, of how they use it, which is where all those algorithms come in, because they adjust to the patterns of use by each one of us.
I mean, you've grown up with it. You're of that age. It is a mixed bag, as Petya describes it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd been on social media from such a young age, and I'd seen it throughout high school and university. And I think going from the different stages of education, you can see how differently people use it. I met some of my closest friends from university on social media through group chats where we're trying to navigate first year. But at the same time, a lot of my friends suffered throughout high school of cyberbullying and being targeted online. And I think it's difficult to try and leave that as well, because there's so much communication on it, and it can become such an echo chamber for people, especially because you can't escape these negative discussions and this targeting as well.
And do you think the way young people use it has changed since it started? Do you think it was a more innocent place perhaps when you started using it?
I mean, they were, back when I started researching it at least, which was over 10 years ago, it was more innocent in terms of there were just less of it. There were fewer platforms. It was Facebook, it was YouTube, maybe Twitter, but we have to remember years ago there was no TikTok, there was no Snapchat, Instagram was not as popular. So as years went by, more and more platforms developed, and they just intensified all the online communication that was happening before. It's still happening, but it's just happening more hours on more platforms amongst more people. So the sheer volume of communication and of content that we see, I think plays a big role in the effect that it has on all of us, really.
Yeah, I mean, there are worries about the effect it can have on young people's mental health. Do you think there should be more restrictions about how young people use it? Do you think there should be more parental controls, or what do you think the way forward is? Because it is definitely worrying. There is definitely worrying aspects of it.
I think it's important to recognise that young children and young teenagers are going to be on it no matter what, and there are ways to go about it. I think trying to find ways to give parents resources to monitor things and make it easier for young people to speak up if they're struggling, and as well as that, just trying to find different ways for children and young people to feel engaged with social media without maybe being exposed to all features of it. Years ago there used to be versions of Snapchat, for example, which was for children, so they could just play with filters rather than engaging with people. So I think finding ways where they still feel like they can take part as well is really important.
Yeah, because the Australian Prime Minister has said this week he wants to ban social media for young people, and you're very much against the ban, aren't you? Because it's here now.
Yes, yeah, I don't see how that can be truly released into practice and how that can be enforced, to be honest. Maybe the Prime Minister has some ideas that he hasn't shared yet about enforcement, but I think I'm always a supporter of education and awareness and prevention and building young people's just agency and self-efficacy in dealing with all this rather than just banning it from them. Because if you think about it, when they grow up and they reach the age when they can be on social media, if it were banned, then they would be just equally unprepared, even though they're older. So it's not about banning social media necessarily, but it's about having a more mature and measured conversation about its use. And I also think it's about the policies that those social media companies take.
And just very briefly, Anna, do you think maybe the social media platforms themselves need to take a bit more responsibility?
I definitely think so. I think it's not so much within the users themselves, but also the platforms and the resources the platforms give to families and parents and the young people themselves.
It's a discussion to have, isn't it? We'll have to leave it there, though. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.